you know, with, you know, the ban twice in a row, do they want to pick it up early here?
I think they're just going to go with the Rumble pick again and try to respond. Oh, the Renekton once again. This is a very big statement from Liiv Sandbox after getting absolutely crushed in game number 1. Now, a lot of this was not Summit's fault, actually. Rascal ended up winning a lot, trading a lot out, actually, in that big, crazy 2v2 fight.
It all comes back to set.
There it is with the Jinx. So it was not really Summit's fault that Rascal got fed. But, you know, he was just the punching bag that Rascal had to play with there in lane after he did get very far ahead. So he has another opportunity here, and he's making a big statement by picking this up. We'll see the Rumble come through once again. Now the set's taken away. I would like to see the Leona priority with this Rumble pick. You can pair it with so many great AD carries in the bottom lane. I think it's a smarter pick to grab that one early and then use it with the Rumble, use it for strong engage at long range. We saw them utilize it so well in game number 1. It's not a pick that you think about as being really a pick you'd want to prioritize in the spot, but we're talking about effort. We're talking about a team that has this Rumble already locked in. And, I mean, otherwise here, you're probably going to grab an AD carry rather than looking for a blind mid matchup. Ooh, okay. Thresh is a really nice takeaway.
Yeah, finally we get to see Effort's Thresh, and this has been terrorizing other teams in the LCK. We haven't gotten to see it in the first couple of games against Gen.G, but finally the prio is coming through on that selection for their team, so they forego. You know, it was set in the 3rd place pick there twice in a row, but this time around with that taken away, they will go for the Thresh, as Diana is going to be the choice here, this time for Clit.
He's got a winning record on it, but it's been a lot less consistent than his Volibear. So, you know, you have really nice engage with Set Diana. It's a combo that we've seen quite a lot. Nocturne's still open too, so you can have like the ultimate hard engage composition, but I don't think Gen.G is going to go down that path. As Aphelios, we talked about it before, a ban because of the Thresh being available. He's so powerful in combination there, and he was just recently slightly buffed on this patch, some of his ammo types and also his magic resistance scaling, his base magic resistance. But see where this is going to go now, because, you know, you see the Tahm Kench banned. So, yeah. Like, do you take away the Jhin here? Do you take away the Kai'Sa here? You know, there's not a lot left. I mean, I guess you could ban the Senna too if you think Senna Thresh is going to be a threat. I don't really think that's something you're worried about, though, as Gen.G. They take away the Jhin.
It was interesting to see the Tahm Kench ban with Life's set so prolific and amazing. But yeah. Set Jinx isn't exactly a lane that you expect most of the time. So I suppose just the Tahm Kench ban for safety alongside of the Jinx, and then maybe go for something else. But no, it's actually going to be the Leona as well, targeting that support role.
This may, you know, cause Gen.G to pivot the set into that support role, like you were saying, and change up the top lane, because, you know, Gnar is still available. The Nocturne I talked about is still available, not banned in this draft at all. So you have a lot of flexibility. You could also take the Lee Sin here, once again, into the Renekton. You still have a lot of flexibility. Like, Gen.G have all the cards right now, and the deck is looking pretty thin for Liiv Sandbox, because once again, you're going to have to now pick up, because Renekton, you don't want to have him play mid in this particular case. You don't have any flexibility. You pick the Thresh as a denial pick, but now you have no champion that has strong synergy with Thresh. You could pick the Vayne here. Sure, I mean, that's a possibility. You could pick the Kai'Sa, but you don't feel like this bottom lane is going to be your strong point. Like, this Kog'Maw feels like it's desperate, not a strong pick in any regards. Whereas you look at Gen.G's comp and you're like, well, this can work with no matter what support they lock in last.
Yeah, the Kog'Maw, one of those last pairings that you might expect, as the Blitzcrank is a troll. And with the Gnar hover here, you would see that going to the top lane and then rotate the Renekton into mid. So that's another option that they are considering here, and that's going to be the lock-in.
This draft looks very weak for Liiv Sandbox right now, and just getting completely outclassed with Gen.G's red side. The Renekton prio not working out here whatsoever. Braum definitely going to give you a lot of fallback here. Going to give you a lot more stability in some of those, you know, mid-game skirmishes too. And we'll lock it in. The other option, of course, would have been to put something else the top side of the map or on one of the other solo lanes and flex the set into support. But against Thresh Kog'Maw, you know, the set feels very flimsy in the bottom lane. Like, he's not going to be able to have a lot of agency there. He'll be great around Drake skirmishes, but that's about it. So I like this a lot more, locking in the Braum. The Liiv Sandbox comp, they put the Renekton in mid lane into a set matchup. It's not like it's unwinnable, but it doesn't feel strong. And you have Rumble can come in there and can pay a visit, but Set is just so difficult to kill. Like, he's so tanky, he has Haymaker, you're going to really struggle to actually find any sort of like actual value in with those ganks with the Rumble in the mid side of the map. So Valdez, I have very low faith in the draft here for Liiv Sandbox, sadly, and it's sad to see because this is a team that started off the series so well, but when the game plan went a little bit downhill, I couldn't figure out how to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, it does feel like Gen.G have a lot of tools to handle this aggression very easily. I think that the set, again, the priority shown on that in this draft this time around from Gen.G is really going to help them out. And I think that Liiv Sandbox kind of played straight into those cards. I think the Kog'Maw is kind of the wild card. I think that bottom lane can go decently, especially because Braum is pretty passive. Maybe you get a decent start there, and maybe just try to kite a little bit with him and focus people down with the equalizer after doing a little bit of poke damage. But let's take a look here at how the game does go. Game 3 is all loaded up.
Saw a Western fan here as well for Gen.G. It almost looked like it was Nemesis himself. Didn't get to see what his sign said. I think it was saying that Gen.G reminded him of CLG or something like that.
I did see a CLG logo.
Yeah, I was pretty tunnel visioned on the draft at that moment. Maybe we'll get another shot of him later. Yeah. But the late game team fighting for Liiv Sandbox's comp. You've got the Gnar, right? You have Equalizer, which is always going to be great. Renekton can threaten a Jinx if she's way out of position. Rula did not take Cleanse, so, you know, count your blessings, I guess. And like you said, Kog'Maw can be decent in this lane and then can later on be a very, very strong powerhouse. But it's the Renekton that I'm worried about. The Renekton is the one odd man out, unfortunately, for the late game fighting. And it's crazy to think about it that way, considering where the draft started with him, right? Now he's been flexed into the mid lane. And a fairly comfortable matchup for Set.
Yeah, I'm not expecting too much from that mid lane. Obviously, I think that both of them can set up some plays. So maybe they get into it, but to be honest, between these two players, I think we might just have a little bit more of a farm lane, but we'll have to wait and see. So far, the two melee champions butting heads just a bit. We finally get to see some range up in the top side with the Gnar returning into the lineup. Gnar is like Set's best friend when he's playing against him. Gnar like jumps over the minion and he comes straight in, and Set is just like, thank you so much for the free ride into your back.
Yeah.
Again, you really have to be on the ball with the timing of that ability, but...
Or you have to really be, you know, I mean, I guess this is still, you know, supports your point, but otherwise you have to, like, wait for the set to engage first and then have a counter engage with the Gnar, which you don't always have those opportunities because Gnar is so based on his Gnar bar. You know, sometimes if you wait too long, you don't actually get that amazing opportunity. So it's just so incredibly difficult to pull off, and it's very tricky. Not impossible, and we have seen it actually succeed quite a lot here in the LCK, but... It's the Renekton and the other pieces here for Liiv Sandbox that feel so difficult to pull off. Like, when you think about the threats for this Kog'Maw, like, how does he really consistently do damage later on? He's going to have to be so safe that I feel like he won't even really be a part of any early game skirmish that happens, not in any meaningful way. So you're just hoping that he gets that late game and then is not threatened at all and is able to get maximum value. And that's a lot of hoping. I mean, it can certainly work, but there's a reason why he's not played like this.
That was pretty nice from effort. Doesn't amount to too much. I don't think the W was available for the Kog'Maw, so it's just a nice hook into double play. And again, this is Effort's Thresh. His fate is maybe just dead. He has to flash away. And now Kroko able to land that harpoon on a BDD as he's going to flash away now. Kroko running away from the Diana. As there are some minions helping out in the trade.
And this is what I was talking about with Set being part of this factor in the mid lane. It's not like, you know, he crushes Renekton or anything like that, but even when he's low health like that and you see the Rumble come through, just his base stats alone, his health, the fact that he has a Haymaker, it just makes it so incredibly hard to actually find any sort of kills with the Renekton stun. If Renekton's top in this case, maybe you can actually lock down the Lee Sin if he tries to trade aggressively. Okay, this might be a bridge too far, though.
No flash on BDD, but we do have Clid coming over as well. Fate getting a little bit low, looking to get some of that health back. The Haymaker isn't exactly good. As First Blood comes in, Clid goes in for the kill, but now Fate looking to run down this Diana, who does have double buff, but Fate is Renekton and is easily able to win that trade and pick up the double buff for himself.
Yeah, BDD, he got away with it the first time, but the second time he doesn't have flash. It's actually a really proactive play from Kroko to come in and actually look for that second kill, knowing the flash is gone, and seeing BDD's positioning is identical. If you know you don't end up getting value out of actually staying there, then you get a little bit behind, so it was fairly risky. But I really like the proactivity here in a game where, as Liiv Sandbox, you really do need to have... Oh, another hook here. Max from range, blitz Braum. Just wanted to maybe give the opportunity to toss back to you if we needed to, but watch this one more time.
Oh, this is from the beginning.
This is the beginning one. So really well handled here from the Renekton, and BDD is forced to flash out of the Haymaker to survive, so you know that that's the most important part of this. So you know the follow-up, he doesn't have it. And you can see that, you know, doesn't have the flash, he's teleported back in.
Yeah.
Fate trades super well here, and you're so far up, you're even further up the lane this time, and Clid is nearby, but not close enough.
He's on the right side of the lane, too. I feel like you have to give respect to the fact that Kroko could have stayed and gone for that scuttle on the bottom side. But Diana took the top side, and now BDD's caught out again. We're going to have to see how this happened, but it just feels like he's not really handling this lane very well. Right
now. And this is a bit shocking, to be honest. It goes against everything that I was kind of leading into in terms of being able to actually snowball against the set with Renekton. It's so rare to see this. But it's been, again, Kroko roaming around, or, you know, staying near the mid lane and coming in and making these plays happen. These ganks are successful. And now Set's starting to fall really far behind. As we're going to watch this a third time now. Yeah. This time it's not really BDD actually being greedy. He's under his turret, but...
We got a fight on live.
Yeah.
Meganar's getting into it with the Lee Sin, but he's just going to back away. Decide not to fight that one. Yeah, it's just kind of Renekton things, you know? He already had the lead. He was already 1-0-1, and the set was falling behind on CS. And when it gets to that scenario and you're a melee champion against Renekton, it's hard to even farm.
Are we going to see this a fourth time?
Well, he's got Clid nearby. So he'll be a lot more confident to make that happen. But with Prio, there is potential for Liiv Sandbox to rotate up, but they're just going to back away.
With where the wave was there, too, for Fate, he's very happy to sit there and get the last part of those minions. And it does. I mean, look at the gold lead here across the board. It's very slight outside of the mid lane in the jungle, but Liiv Sandbox. I mean, I had very little hope and very little faith in this comp, but with some really great ganks from Kroko and some small mistakes from BDD, this game feels very winnable now. In fact.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think if it was an even lane, there was potential for BDD to be okay against this Renekton, but now from behind, it's not looking like there's much hope. I think you just try to eat the pressure, eat the waves as they come into you. But other than that, not looking for too much else. As even Effort is looking to get some action here in the middle lane, but just using some of that prio from the bottom side to rotate up and get vision around this first straight.
It's the Resh, so Prince has the opportunity to potentially harass here a little bit, but gonna push the wave instead. It's a Braum Jinx. You know, you're not going to get too much out of this. You're not going to really threaten much. But keeps pushing. This lane is relatively uninteresting when you compare it to the action-packed mid and a little bit of the top we've seen so far here. But
kind of why I was not disliking the Kog'Maw, because when the Braum comes in as the 5th pick, it's like, okay, free lane for the Kog'Maw, right? Like, Ruler and Life aren't really able to do anything ever. Especially with the Thresh available there. If you ever try to jump in, I mean, you have Lanterns, you have Flays Away, you have ways to engage yourself. I think the Kog'Maw just kind of sits down there and farms up and has a fun time.
He definitely has a great time farming, but he will not have a great time in some of these upcoming skirmishes when they start to occur. Like, we have, you know, gotten very close to the 9-minute mark without any objectives whatsoever being contested. This Rascal will have this kick to disengage, but
showcasing his power for the future team fights.
If we see a group up here with the Kog'Maw for Rift Herald, even like right now, for example, that's when we're going to see Gen.G have a much happier time against him. The Braum is going to be much better later on. Like, in lane, yeah, he's useless in a lot of ways, but later on in some of these fights, he'll be better. Now Renekton having this much prio into the set actually gives them this Rift Herald. And Gen.G are kind of taking their time on the streak. They're going to be able to get it here. So it's going to be a trade 1-for-1 here for objectives. And, you know, the extra gold, we'll see where that goes. If you can actually funnel that into the bottom lane, that's quite good. But also, you could maybe even try to just further snowball Fate's lead here so that the next streak fight that you actually do contest in Group 4 becomes a lot tougher, and you have a stronger front line for the Kog'Maw.
Yeah. The Renekton is just so scary right now. 2-0-1. And, of course, on 11-12, he received some nerfs, but it was all to the sustain on his, you know, ability to sustain off the minions, right? And you take that away, kind of sucks for Renektons, but it doesn't change the fact that from ahead, you're still going to be able to dominate the enemy champion, right? You're sometimes in extended lane states, especially in the top lane and longer lanes, you would like to have that sustain if it's an even lane or if you're behind. But if you get ahead and you're in the mid lane, you have a lot of support from your jungler, from your actual support player on your team, I think the changes don't really hurt him at all.
Yeah, not really.
Enjoying this a lot.
In this particular game, I mean, it was really just about BDD. The second time BDD got caught there was on him, right, when he didn't have flash. Like, he was way far forward. And then the future follow-ups we've had were just, unfortunately, Klid just not matching Krako's rotations. First time, like, set survives, it went all back to, like, okay, yeah, set should be fine here. But the second time, it's on BDD. The third time, it's just great play from Krako. And it's just really Liiv Sandbox identifying a weakness in Gen.G early on with their jungler. And now they have a pretty nice lead. It's a pretty stable game for Gen.G, you know, when you think about what their comp can do later on. But if Liiv Sandbox can actually start to snowball this with the comp they have, and Kog'Maw does get really fed, you feel really good about this. So it's a great start here. And we'll see what Gen.G can pull off. You know, we don't have any objectives for quite some time here. The Rift Herald was tossed into the top lane immediately. So, not even part of the conversation anymore.
Klid is being a sneaky Diana right now. Trying to make a play on the bot side, but unfortunately for them, Krako is right here.
Yeah, and I think he knows that there's a chance he's either rotating down or he's over here. They have vision control on the river.
Trying to make a play themselves, but seeing the Diana there, they just decide, okay, we'll hold on to the control of the river vision and not overextend here.
Yeah, so much prio here for Fate. You know, it's interesting, you and I talked about how we thought the key player matchup more than the top matchup was actually definitely going to be the jungle matchup. And in this game, Krako has been everywhere he needs to be. Controls the mid lane, gonna grab the Scuttle too. Was able to rotate down and identify that Klid was very likely bot. And, you know, just no window back into success here for Gen.G, unfortunately, for a little while. You know, when we go into the next fight too, like, this is a Jinx that has Kraken Slayer, but it's not fully online yet. You're gonna be much more reliant on your really hard engage with Diana set in this upcoming fight than you're on your 80 carry.
Renekton just picks up Gordrick here first. He's like, what nerfs? I do not care about any nerfs. Having a grand old time there in the mid lane. Set struggling to get any items so far. Prince is going ahead and face checking this brush. I think he must have had other information as they do see the Braum in the enemy jungle. Does make sense. We had that early skirmish in the top or in the mid lane very often, but after that it's just been a little bit of a lull state. Trying to make a big play now though, as I don't think Summit knows that Rascal is actually behind him. Summit is going to get hit by that and actually turns around. He's got two allies up on the top side of the map with him, and he's totally fine.
Yeah, who's baiting whom here?
Yeah.
Summit handles it extremely well. He also had flash. You know, he was not in any real danger there. And because the wave was so pushed, he had that escape route to go around the top side instead of going down in the river where the Diana was lying in wait. And this is actually going to be potentially a practical play with a Narbar.
That's pretty nice, but not overstepping the boundaries. Rumble is on a ward right now, so Rascal immediately just disengages. Doesn't want any part of that 1v2. It's not quite the same as game number 2.
Liiv Sandbox with the mid prio they're going to have right before this Drake spawns. The bot prio they've had all game long are pretty poised to tie up the Drake score 1-1 here. And Gen.G have a comp that's great at skirmishing. You can see the turret plates here on the top side of the map with that Rift Herald are starting to stack up too. Gen.G there's one way to argue that they should be able to fight this because they have the set, they have the Diana, but they don't have great damage yet with the Jinx where they would like to have it, right? You know, it's still too early for her to really carry and pop off in this fight, so see where this goes, because if Gen.G is able to take this Drake, they're in a very nice position in this game, even with the gold deficit. So they're going to group up. See the Lee Sin coming down.
All right, well, just stacking for the death sentence makes it easy, but now the teleports are coming in. Effort in an awkward spot. Rascal looking for the kill on a Prince. This is what you were talking about. There's no peel for this Cogmaw. He's going to go down eventually. Survives for a long period of time, but it does not matter. Now looking for the turn here is Liiv Sandbox as Croco comes in, and he's burning literally everybody on the bottom side as Ruler is now on the run. And Liiv Sandbox, once everybody finally gets into the fight, they absolutely stomp Gen.G and take down everybody but Ruler.
And it's terrifying that this fight goes so well for Liiv Sandbox. Despite the early lead in the fight for Gen.G, they're able to take out Prince, but it just doesn't matter. Once the Renekton gets into this fight, it's all over in an instant. And this is actually a lot of extra gold going over to the Rumble too. He's now 2-1-5 in this game. And when you're stuck on top of a Rumble, that's the worst place to be when everyone's on low health and Croco's just going to be able to clean it up. So watching this one more time, you see the teleport coming through here actually from both the mid and bottom lane. So Gen.G actually get into this first, right? They have Rascal to push Prince back. He gets on top of him and he's dead. However, once you have Fate in the equation here, everybody on Gen.G took a lot of damage to actually extend in and kill that Cogmaw. Croco's ready to clean up the rest of the fight with his flamethrower here. And I mean, it's just a fed Rumble at this stage in the game. Does so much damage. And Renekton too is just unkillable. Now you tied up the Drakes. You're on the second Rift Herald. It's looking very good for Liiv Sandbox.
You're seeing why the Renekton, it doesn't matter what happened to him in the patch, he is just going to be prioritized by all these LCK teams still. And with this lead, he really is unkillable. Like, there's not much they can do unless they catch him out. And yeah, now the Rift is Liiv Sandbox's. It's a pretty large lead. It's not quite game number 2 for Gen.G level lead, but Liiv Sandbox are feeling really comfortable right now, even though Prince has been taking a beating in some of these fights. Doesn't really matter because the rest of his team is so fed and they can use a lot of resources. BDD can get to the back line and try to assassinate the Cogmaw, but then you just get burnt to a crisp, and then there's a giant crocodile as well that's just going to take you down.
I mean, the Cogmaw works so well with the long-range tools that you have with the Rumble. Equalizer comes out here early, and look at this. I mean, the living artillery plus the fact that you have this equalizer means that everybody on Gen.G has to get so far away from you whenever you use that sort of exchange. Okay. I thought this was going to get a little bit more violent than it ended up being, but Renekton and Lee Sin eye each other down and then walk away. The lead here is pretty significant. Let's not forget that Ruler will be way more powerful later on. And, you know, this is a comp that you can already see the power of the engage tools of for Gen.G. We saw it in that last bottom lane exchange, even though they didn't win out in the end.
Yeah.
You can see where this comp is, what it's designed to do. So this is not over by any means. And if Gen.G had been able to secure that Drake, I would have given them a pretty firm lead, actually. But they not only lose the Drake, but also lose out on that exchange on the bottom side, give a ton of extra gold over to Liiv Sandbox. So it's not like unwinnable for Gen.G. I just want to remind everybody that their comp does do very well in late game team fights.
Yeah, they do have that potential. We'll have to see how fed Ruler can get. The 2 kills are certainly helping him keep up. But having a Cogmaw here for Liiv Sandbox is really nice with their unkillable front line as well. so he can try to match some of that late game scaling that the Jinx will have. But let's see how long Gen.G can hold on in this one. That first Drake that they got is really going to help them try to extend this game into the later stages. As you can see, they're not even scared to run in here, take a Scuttle Crab. Both teams just grouping up as 5 now. Nobody's split pushing or doing anything like that.
Bit of a K-Ram in this game right now.
Yeah.
Very early on, too. Like, this normally happens like 25 to 28 minutes, not at 19. There's a bit of a lull state here, and it's very, very good for Ruler when you go to these lull state type situations as the Jinx to just be able to sit up in here and take all the farm. Like, all the gold's being given to Ruler. Yes, thank you for the red buff. I'll take another 100 gold. Go back and buy a rapid fire cannon. This is the item he's trying to purchase right now. And it's interesting, too, the build choice here for Jinx, because the rapid fire cannon, if you have the right engage, might just allow him to kill Prince. And if he can kill Prince with a rapid fire cannon, like, it's pretty standard for Kog'Maw to have that, right, just by default. But with the Jinx, you don't always see that item. And it's super good at guaranteeing the kill on Prince if you have that really good engage with BDD and Clid. So I think sometimes, you know, the scariest part of the comp for Liiv Sandbox is the Jinx that can get that last shot in and actually kill your Kog'Maw. You have to be so careful about that.
Yeah, provides that upfront burst as well with their fiery engage that they do have. Find enemy target, kill enemy target is going to be the name of the game for them if they want to have any chance as this game is coming along. As we're seeing kind of the teams spread out a little bit more. You see the matchups. BDD, though, he can't really sit in the lane against the Renekton. So you see back pings immediately coming down on the top side. Maybe that was actually to fake because they don't know exactly where the enemy team is. They don't want to have him get ganked. And Rascal having to handle Summit, essentially. But this Drake should be Liiv Sandbox's. I don't think that Gen.G are going to make any big plays for a Drake. Maybe they'll look for trades onto a Baron or something if the game gets late enough, but for right now,
yeah, you can't now.
Sitting back and farming is the name of their game.
Absolutely. Not to mention that Liiv Sandbox had mid-prio and so much vision control around this. Like, Gen.G showed less than 0 interest in that Drake whatsoever. You're just like, yeah, okay, you're going to push this wave, and I'm going to take all these minions as my Jinx, as Gen.G's Jinx. I'm going to give all the minions to Ruler. And Liiv Sandbox actually are able to clear every piece of vision. Now, the sweeper did not see the back part of that, so they're not actually sure if there's a ward there or not. But Gen.G do not have vision, and they know that, so they're going to have to spend a few resources actually coming back over here to get some vision. They have only this control ward here in the brush just above Croco.
We were talking about target acquisition, you know, trying to blow up a Kog'Maw, but Liiv Sandbox actually have a couple of tools of their own. There's no Tom Kench in this game, it's just the Braum, but if you just plop down an Equalizer on top of Ruler, and then you get a couple living artilleries onto him, or maybe even an auto or two, there's definitely a bunch of tools that Liiv Sandbox can use to also blow up this Jinx, so they're going to be looking for that as well.
Yeah, definitely very, very true. You know, neither player taking cleanse, but it's not really about the CC as much as it's about the damage. Like, if you were in a range to be CC'd as Kog'Maw in this game, like, you were probably dead from the beginning. Yeah. So you definitely don't really care as much about that part of things, but you see the vision once again being cleared out here for Liiv Sandbox because they know Gen.G is playing the waiting game. And if you can scare Gen.G into thinking you're starting a Baron, then maybe you could force Gen.G into a fight they don't want to take just yet around that vision.
I like Prince. He's getting a little bit antsy. He's like, okay, let's go in there, poke a little bit. The Gale Force forward, trying to assert his dominance over the mid-farm lane, which is really what it is at this point in time.
Teleport is available for Summit. Again, Gen.G have to really be careful about how they handle this. This is where you could lose this game as Gen.G if you end up getting wiped here around a Baron play, or a play that you're afraid might be happening on Baron because you don't have vision. So much vision control is so important in how Liiv Sandbox are playing this. Liiv Sandbox is really impressing me as a team, Valdez. Like, game 1 and game 3 here, yeah, game 2 was kind of a wash, whatever. That game was over in the first 10 minutes, but this is a really great start for them going into this late game. All this vision control, so much proactive play around the Baron. They're utilizing the fact that Gen.G are just going to sit back and farm, and they're like, well, okay, what if we're doing Baron? What if we're actually going to pick one of your members? Look at Summit.
Yeah, he's got that angle, but Meganar is going to timeout. They're looking for this tier 2.
They're going to get it, too.
It's super low, and yeah, I mean, Gen.G, as you mentioned, they just want to sit back. They want to play passively for the next 7 minutes, basically. They want to wait until the Cloud Soul fight, potentially, or maybe a Baron fight if Liiv Sandbox try to accelerate the game. And other than that, they're not really interested in fighting. Just want to sit here and farm.
Yeah. But what I'm getting at here, too, is that I feel like Liiv Sandbox have identified this, and they're going to get every little piece of advantage in terms of vision control and wave control on the map that they can. So yeah, Gen.G is going to farm up this Jinx, and they're giving all their money over to Ruler. You can see, like, Rascal's not interested in any of that minion wave whatsoever. It's all going over to Ruler. But, you know, there are expensive trade-offs here to this for Gen.G, because by the time that it is time to now, in 90 seconds, look for a Drake fight, you have to clear a lot of wards. You're going to have to be going through vision. You're going to have to be going through a very scary section of the map that, you know, Liiv Sandbox are ready to catch you and trap you at any moment. And you have to consider that they might be doing Baron at every moment where you don't have a ward in this pit. And this keeps being removed by Liiv Sandbox. So this is like the best way to let a team be passive while also sucking up everything that exists on the map. Like, Liiv Sandbox are playing this basically perfectly.
Yeah. That's what you try to do in these mid-game lull states. Just try to take as many camps as possible, push in all the lanes, deny vision, and threaten objectives. And they're doing that very nicely. We'll see what else they can get here. It looks like they're gearing up for a back into the Cloud Drake, you would have to imagine.
Yeah. There's a really, like, right now Gen.G don't have any vision, so they don't know if it's a reset timing or not. That's why you can see, look at how careful Ruler is when he's clearing this ward. And that's what the vision control allows you to do, a free reset like this. And set over here to the Drake. Gen.G.
The gold lead has basically not changed over the last 5 minutes. You can see it up there at the top. It just went away. It was 4,500 gold to 4,300 gold, so 200 more in favor of Gen.G, but that's basically nothing at this point in the game. And Gen.G are actually looking to potentially make a stand here at the Cloud Drake.
Yeah. It's scary because, you know, on one hand, you don't have to do this because this is not Soul. But on the other hand, your comp has started to really come online. This would be, it's a very dangerous comp. You know, it's not just about the Jinx damage, it's about the front line like we were talking about. Can you kill the Kog'Maw?
Yeah. They know that they're not that far behind in terms of the damage with their 80 carries. But let's see if they can break through the front line of Liiv Sandbox. I think that's the first question. You've got Fate. He's got the left side, Summit's got the right side. And they're basically the bouncers to getting into the bar that is the Cloud Drake pit. It's going to be a free Cloud Drake here for Liiv Sandbox.
Defensive box from effort on the retreat right when Summit's Narbar disappears. Like, that's the one time you're vulnerable. And he covers all angles. Like, you had the Renekton, like you said, you had the Gnar, and then the Gnar's bar goes away. You have the Thresh. So well handled here from Liiv Sandbox. They're playing not to lose. They're not playing to win, per se, because their comp isn't designed to actually punish Gen.G and engage hard and then pop off in a fight. Their comp is actually designed to play around objectives defensively, and because they have control of the map, that's exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah, Liiv Sandbox, they've had enough. They say, okay, let's go for this. Unfortunately, they didn't clear the control ward in the back of the pit. They absolutely should do that. But they were a little bit threatened and very careful about how they are going to try to win this game. It means a lot for both teams. I mean, if Gen.G lose this, they lose their undefeated streak in LCK Summer, and if Liiv Sandbox win, it's a win over T1 and Gen.G in the same week, basically.
Yeah.
So
over the weekend, the esports weekend, just like from one bridge to another. But
exactly,
it's a little bit awkward here for Gen.G because this is the first time now they actually have control over this Baron pit for the first time in a very long time. And what will they do with it? So we have a pause.
They will pause the game.
We'll have a lot of time to talk about this because for the first time they back into this now. Yeah. And actually Gen.G will relinquish control over the Baron.
Yeah, the keyboard issue is solved. We have killed the final boss of esports. We made it past that demon, and we will return to this lull state. It's been about a good 8 minutes. Just been hanging out. Both teams are just farming. And there is a lot on the line for both of these teams, as we mentioned. The tension is really building. Nobody wants to make a big mistake. Nobody wants to overstep their bounds. I like that Prince. He's a player that hasn't been around for that long, but he's still making aggressive plays onto a veteran like Ruler.
Yeah.
In the mid lane, not scared to just gale force forward and potentially poke him out. Hasn't done it yet again after that one time.
Liiv Sandbox need to be very careful about considering, like, look at where they're positioned, Fate and Croco on the left side there. If you fail to get that pick, you lose the ensuing fight to Gen.G every time. If you overextend into a Jinx, into set Diana, like, I'm a little bit worried about Liiv Sandbox actually getting a little bit too aggressive when, you know, they're trying to play around this vision and hoping that Gen.G are out of vision. When they don't have vision of where Gen.G is too, they really do need to be careful. It looks like Liiv Sandbox have decided their win rate, or the win condition rather, is to just simply wait for the Cloud Drake fight. Or otherwise see if Gen.G make a mistake positionally. He pulls the trigger.
It's going in there, and Rascal's like, oh wait, that's an R.
If he gets out the Gnar bar and gets the ultimate out.
Gnar bar's here.
Yeah.
And okay, we're looking for the play. Question mark pings on the top side as they know the potential flank is coming in.
Gen.G, they get rid of the Gnar bar though. Like I think that's part of the play here from Rascal. Now it's completely gone. You got a mini Gnar. Maybe now's your chance to make something happen. Meanwhile, if you look at the top of the map, Fate is trying to side lane a little bit. We're gonna see, you know, Liiv Sandbox just catch the ball here with a little bit of defensive posturing around mid lane. Maybe then force Gen.G to rotate top. And then the vision fight continues, but it's always been in their favor. Minus that one moment right before the pause where Gen.G had control, but they gave it away. Did not actually decide to make anything happen. You know, we didn't see exactly what was happening on in game, but Liiv Sandbox was much closer than it looked like it might have been when we had that pause come through. So realistic choice, but this is, like you said, it's so tense because it means so much for both teams. This is perfect record for Gen.G versus Liiv Sandbox, getting those back-to-back wins over two of our top teams here, T1 and Gen.G.
I mean, if they can kill two of the top three teams in the LCK, where do they stand? I mean, for round one, you got to place them at least 4th or 5th, you would have to imagine. The games weren't fluke games either. Obviously, the ones versus T1 were, especially that first game, was a little bit of a wonky situation in game number 1, but to be in a position to scoop up that win is also admirable and deserves praise.
You know, both of these teams are so strong defensively with their comps, especially Gen.G. That's just how this game is going to look, right?
Okay, here we go. Looking for the target as the wards will come in. Croco just going to flash. He says, no, I don't want to have to deal with potentially dying to a couple of control wards. And that's a big fight because it's right before the Cloud Soul.
Yeah, and that one Ocean Drake is getting a significant amount of value actually after all that chip damage.
True. Look at Summon's position though. Look at him right now. He's behind the enemy team as the Gnar comes in, a 3-man Gnar to the wall. But where is the follow-up? It is non-existent, but at least BDD is cut off from his team, but so is Summit. As they both go into their stopwatches, they will trade their lives. But look at this. Look at the health bars on the side of Gen.G. They can't fight after that one, and Liiv Sandbox will take the Cloud Soul.
Absolutely the trade you want to take here in the 1-for-1 here. If you're Liiv Sandbox, they're going to take the Cloud Soul, and they're going to try to rotate over to Baron too. Prince does so much damage that he can actually kind of solo this as they rotate away. He's got a Lantern here too. Gen.G looking to set up. No vision here.
Okay, if they can blow up Fate, maybe that's the play, but he has a stopwatch. There you go. There it is again. The best item in the game is now we're trying to assassinate Ruler. And Renekton takes down the Braum. This is just finally the tension has been ripped out of this game as Liiv Sandbox take everything, and now they're going to get the Baron.
They're going to get the Baron too, and Gen.G know it. Rascal's going to try to get a mid turret for this. I mean, that's your only consolation prize. Glid had the back. It was way too low to do anything. Maybe he'll catch the top wave, but Liiv Sandbox can now very comfortably sit back and then, you know, regroup here and then head towards some inhibitor potential takes here. As this is going to be some extra gold, but that's way less significant than the pushing power they've had control of over the last 10 minutes of this game now becomes even stronger as they regroup. And we're going to watch this fight one more time. This is just so well played from Liiv Sandbox. They have positional advantage. Summit's in the back. It's a triple here on the Gnar into the wall, and he's right in such a position where he actually gets over the wall and is not under threat. So he buys so much time here, does so much damage, and it's really just BDD trying to stem the bleeding, but everybody takes so much damage, their health bars are so low, and I mean, Fate knows he has stopwatch. Like, the whole time, he's like, no, I actually walk in blind, I stopwatch, we win this, their health bars are too low.
Exactly. He's easily able to get out of there as well. The Lantern at the last second, he lives with very low health, and they turn onto the Baron. And now this game has opened up. It's just totally wide open. The Cloud Soul is here, the Baron is here. Liiv Sandbox have everything. The poke potential from their team is massive. It'll be very difficult for Gen.G to ever find a quality engage at this point in time.
Yeah, we might have to see the Nexus turret fight, honestly, here for Gen.G to have a hope of coming back.
Look at this. This is what I was talking about before, the equalizer and the living artillery rulers at half health.
You just have to go straight back into the fountain, heal up, and look for that Nexus turret fight. Maybe Set has a miracle engage. Liiv Sandbox are not going to look for that big of a collapse here because, you know, why would they? Why do they have to force us? They could just retreat, regroup, and then rinse and repeat here in the mid lane. And in fact, it's only Thresh that commits to the back. They're going to regroup here in mid themselves. Okay, they just do decide to back. There's very few items left to buy here, so I'm like taking stock of this. Summit will get his Force of Nature. GA is up now for Fate, so that is going to make him even more annoying to deal with. Like, okay, stopwatch is one way to survive death. Now the GA means that if he does get burst down in a moment like that, he just comes right back to life.
This is rough. You mentioned the Force of Nature. You're not really getting away from this Gnar at this point in time. And even the Liiv Sin, who we mentioned, he offers some nice utility, can run away with some lanes at some points. We saw that in game 2, but hasn't really been able to do much in this pretty passive game. Hasn't found any picks, hasn't had any big disengages onto the engaging Liiv Sandbox members.
It's another one of those games, too, where it's been such a great team effort from Liiv Sandbox. You know, from the beginning, we saw a lot of extra help given to Renekton in mid. Now you're seeing incredible engages from Summit in the late game. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint, like, one player is carrying the team. No, they're playing their composition so well. What a terrifying Liiv Sandbox we're watching right now.
Yeah.
Like, not just the state of the game, but just with, like, they don't make mistakes right now in this game.
Yeah. A lot of teams in the LCK are kind of leaning into that as a big equalizer. Finally, BDD is just going to go in for it and immediately die as he tried to do something. Maybe he could have waited for the Nexus turrets, but I think the result would have been very similar. As now they're going to be knocking on the door of this Nexus. They clear out the waves very well, and you see Rascal trying to find something to do. Prince will die. Just like that, you can see that Ruler is incredibly fed at this point in time. The rocket is not enough to kill him, but it will push Liiv Sandbox back and give Gen.G another chance.
One more chance is all they're going to get. 2 minutes to go on both Baron and Elder Drake here. About 45 seconds separating the two of them. But, I mean, Gen.G don't have any agency in this game because of the fact that there's inhibitors down, right? The fact that just so much vision control as this is BDD. Like you said, you wait for the Nexus turrets and the result looks very similar, but this actually buys time during an equalizer for the rest of the team to go back and lick their wounds and set up for that defense. We do eventually see, miraculously, Gen.G don't die here. They are able to hold on, but I mean, for how long is really the question, because Liiv Sandbox have firm hold over this, every aspect of the map, and even Rascal has overstepped a little bit. They don't see him.
Yeah. He's going to get away with that, as they could have definitely collapsed onto him. They're just going to try to open up the one lane that they haven't yet. They're very confident to take this win in the team fight. Just take down the last inhibitor potentially, or even just the turret and go with that.
I mean, it looks like Gen.G might have survived long enough to get an Elder Drake fight here. That's certainly on the cards right now.
Yeah,
survives.
The flanking Rascal trying to come in, but Summit is able to hop away from that one. And the death sentence would have been exactly that, but he does have the stopwatch as the engage comes in. Nice counter engage, the Diana goes in, and they get the wombo combo! They get the backline, they fight Prince, but Fate is still alive! And now it's Summit 1v4, but he can't do it! And have they actually taken back this game? They need to potentially save their base, as Rascal's gonna go back.
They have to make the call, Rascal's gonna go back, they're gonna group for the Elder. There's still all of the inner turrets up right now, not to mention the inhibitor turrets here, as this is actually gonna be very frustrating to deal with. Rascal comes back here, the base will be fine. Is the Elder Drake enough is the real question. It gives Gen.G a lot more that they can do with the map. They can actually now clear some of the vision. They're the ones who are going to be able to make some aggressive plays now for the first time in what's been about 18 minutes. Gen.G will find one perfect team fight. Rascal starts this off, And like you said, he's not able to get the engage there on the summit, but the re-engage is really where this all comes down. Rascal has the stopwatch, and you see a huge commitment in here from Fate.
Look at this.
But look at Set, okay? Diana Set.
It all comes back.
It all comes back to the Set, Valdez.
Yeah.
And the Haymaker here just does so much amazing damage in every scenario. It doesn't matter what the items are. It doesn't matter what the team fight looks like. If the Set gets the Haymaker and every single member of Liiv Sandbox, it's just too much. He's just like, this is it, right here. I mean, that's the power that we've been talking about the late game.
You gotta look at live.
Yeah.
We have the Baron going down here. Baron and Elder for a minute and a half. Sandbox are thinking about pushing some inhibitors, but they're not able to. They're only gonna get this blue buff. And for the next minute and a half, Gen.G can do whatever they want. Let's see what they try to take on this map.
Yeah, I mean, they're still cleaning up from the lost inhibitors. A minute 20 left on the top inhibitor. The bot inhibitor comes up, so it feels like Gen.G is just surviving a little bit longer with this, because that team fight win enough alone is not enough to actually take the win. You know, the Croco was left up, so you know they decided to go for the Elder. They grab a Baron, but with all the inner turrets up, and even with the game time nearly hitting 40 minutes here, you don't feel like Gen.G get another team fight win unless it's a full wipe that they're going to end this either. Like, it's going to take several more great fights like that, but this time, like I said, they have control over the map, so they have a lot more agency to initiate the fight instead of just waiting around for Liiv Sandbox to make a mistake.
Fate says, well, we can't fight them straight up for the next 30 seconds. He's going to leave the Kog'Maw in the Rumble to clear the waves, as he's not going to be able to himself, and he will split push.
Yeah.
And here comes the teleport, and he might be forced to come back if they begin to push the Nexus turrets. And that is exactly what they're going to do. They're going into this one. The teleport is coming in from the Renekton, but now Summit on the backside. They still have the Elder for 10 seconds. And now they're able to take down the Gnar, and in goes the Renekton. He'll be taken out, and I think Gen.G will be able to take this game down. The Elder is just too strong for the last 10 seconds, and they make it happen in 40 minutes as they make a huge comeback to take this series and continue the undefeated streak.
What a massive play from Clid there to bring this